Hey, this is JC and welcome to Small Brick City. In this video, I'm going to showcase my completed corner garage and the Blue Brick Hotel. It's called the Blue Brick Hotel because there's a blue brick right over here. This is my interpretation and modification of the Lego Corner Garage set 10264. In a previous video, I shared 20 different ideas of how you could remodel or modify this to fit your Lego city. You can check out that video in the link in the card or in the description. My original plans for the Corner Garage was to turn it into a corner hotel with a cafe. In fact, it's inspired by the Cafe Corner, and I shared this original idea in another video which you can check out as well. So in those plans, the bottom floor, this part would be the hotel lobby and this section here would be the cafe. The signage was a bit different, although I did have this sign. And the reason why I created this particular concept for the hotel and a cafe was because I felt that this set did remind me of the Cafe Corner. And that's why I rebuilt this sign, which is based off the original Cafe Corner sign, but I did it in a different color and slightly different shape as well. One thing I had to do was also to reverse the sign, because this sign for the Corner Cafe was originally on the right, and because this is on the left, I had to reverse it so that it would read properly. So I did those modifications, but after I built the Corner Cafe, or after Annie built the Corner Cafe, and I examined the build, I had a greater appreciation for the Corner Garage section. That's the ground floor of this build. I really liked the design and all the different moving parts, and I felt it would be a pity and a waste if I did away with that. So I decided to keep the bottom part to be the Corner Garage, but I did move out the vet and the apartment. In fact, I moved them to the pet shop, and you can check out that video in the card as well or in the description. And I transformed the second and the third floors to the Blue Brick Hotel. And the concept for this hotel to me is kind of a dingy hotel. Maybe in its heyday years ago, it was an upscale hotel, but over time it hasn't been well maintained and there are newer hotels around the area, and this really can't match up. And in my mind, this hotel's been around for a long time, and this garage and gas station is slightly newer, because originally it may have been something else, but over the years businesses changed and this moved in. And of course they couldn't do anything about that, and they aren't really a highly rated hotel now, because as you can imagine, it could be pretty noisy living above the garage. And it also reminds me of the hotels that I visited in Europe, specifically Cannes in France. It's listed as a 4-star hotel, but when you go up that narrow flight of steps up to the reception area, it's just small, it's dark. When you go to the rooms, they aren't very clean, paint is peeling, there are bugs and creatures all over, things aren't working. And that is really what inspired me to create this particular hotel. So it is a bit of a dingy hotel, not so well upkept, and together I feel that this works. With any build that I embark on, I always think about the concept and the details. So the concept was exactly as I've described, a hotel which is built on a newer gas station and workshop. Now, relatively new, because as you can see, the gas pump is still the old style. So I'm talking about back in the day, and it's just still kept because this particular building is still preserved in my Lego city. And I'm actually putting this in the metro section of my Lego city, and you'll see it placed in a future update that's coming very soon. To bring out the concept of the build, I've really added in a lot of detail, and that's kind of one of the hallmarks of my builds. I do pack in a lot of detail. I do not think there's such a thing as too much details. Details to me really bring to life a build, and in real life, if you go to any workshop, any building, you'll find that it's often very busy and what might seem cluttered, but that's really the reality. I have got a little story going on which supports the concept as well, which I'll get into in just a bit. But first, let's have a look at some of the physical changes I made to this build. The first thing I did was to relocate the sign for Joe's Garage over here. Now, originally when I first saw the build, I felt Joe's Garage, or at least because the sign was here, I felt they referred to the whole building, but obviously it doesn't, because there was also the pet store sign or the vet clinic sign right here. So I didn't think it was suited to place the Joe's Garage sign here, and that's why I moved it. And different subscribers have also echoed those thoughts. Elm Weasel, he mentioned that this roof should be clear because it is already quite pretty, and I do agree with that. Galagade, she mentioned to relocate the sign as well. So I've kind of combined the sign together. As you can see, I did change it up a bit so that this wrench is here, so it's a all-in-one sign, and this part of the roof has been kept plain. The other thing I did was for the hotel, and that's to add the hotel sign, which I mentioned earlier, and it's just attached by modified bricks, just like that. And I added this awning. I did have to change this part over here slightly, so I could put in a row of modified bricks and a plate, and that's how the awning is held. I decided to go with the Blue Brick Hotel to give it a name and not just call it the hotel. And the blue brick then, of course, is kind of the signage for the hotel. I did move this light from the center atop of the door down here. I also added in a bit of a red carpet look, kind of a welcoming entrance to the hotel. On the back, what I did was to add in some cobblestone and broken up tiling, and these are just 1x1 tiles and round tiles just to create a kind of a weathered look for a back entrance. Other than that, for the outside, I've kept everything mainly intact. I did want to preserve as much of the original build as possible. I always like to do that as far as I can, even though I'm remocking something. But I've done a lot of changes to the inside, which I'll show you in just a bit. But let's have a look at this little scene that is going on over here. This particular garage has a dubious reputation. They do service regular cars, but they're also a chop shop where they strip down stolen cars. They also do illegal modification for cars for street racing, and that's what seems to be going on right over here. This is the bonnet of the car, and I've placed it on a stud on the ground, and there's a car inside being worked on by several mechanics. Now you can't really see inside because the garage door is lowered down deliberately so people can't get a clear look inside. But what happens here, we have a patrol car which has stopped by. Maybe he was just topping up his patrol, or maybe he got a complaint for suspicious activity. Nevertheless, he is coming over to have a look at the garage, but we have one of the mechanics who's trying to bribe him with some donuts. Now let's have a look at the interior of this build, starting with the ground floor. Here's an angled top view of the ground floor. Let's just have a quick overview first. These are the steps that go up to the hotel, and what I've done is just added in some railings so that minifigs don't fall over. The original build did not have this privacy wall, and I built this wall so there's no access to the stairs. Here's a quick look at the outside in terms of the tiling that I've done. That's all I added, nothing else. And here we get a good look on the inside, and let me just zoom in so that you can see very clearly. And they're working on a car right there, and that's a Speed Champion's car. I'm going to take it out so that we can clearly see inside. You can see that they've already removed the bonnet. They're also changing out the wheels, or maybe stripping off the wheels. And here's the scene on the inside. This particular feature is the lift for the car, and I really like that, the way they built it into the design. And this is the mechanic who was working on the front of the car. He was actually under the car, and you can see I can open up the garage doors here. And I've held him in place by a jumper plate as well, and there's a toolbox next to him. On the wall, I added in a fire extinguisher that is built into the wall, and that's actually from the Ghostbusters HQ. I also added in some wall decoration because you always see some kind of posters on garage walls. Here we've got many more mechanics at work. By the way, this is just a cardboard carton to collect, I guess, different parts of the car. We've got a lady mechanic who's basically stripping the tire off a rim. I added in another of these red trolleys, and we've got a guy who was working on the car, on the side of the car. He actually took out the wheel, and this is an additional red trolley because the original red trolley is right there in the corner. I added in the engine for a vehicle, and this is something I built originally for my motorcycle and bike shop, and it's a small build but fairly realistic in terms of replicating an engine of sorts. You can see that this is obviously an illegal chop shop because this is the guy in charge. I added in a water cooler because garages always have water coolers, and what I did here was actually to close off this particular door. Now over here was actually a door, the entrance to the garage, but I have taken that out and I've actually replaced it with a solid window, and that's because I felt there's really no need for that particular window, and this actually allows me to create more space here, more working space within the garage, and I could really fill it up. I moved the cash register from here to underneath the stairs, and I also lowered it slightly because it was on a 2x2 clear trans panel, which was actually too high for minifigs. Over here I've also got some wall decoration in the form of a map, something that is likely to be found in a garage as well. So that's basically it. That is the garage, but much more detail as the original build. I also tiled the entire floor, but I've many jumper plates all over the place so that minifigs can be placed. Now let's go on to the second floor, which is the reception and first room for the Blue Brick Hotel. This is the second floor of the building, and this is the reception for the Blue Brick Hotel, and this is a single large room. Let's have a look at the reception area first. I did take out that decorated tile or window piece which says Dr. Jones Animal Care, and that's been moved to my pet store where the clinic is now above. And for the reception area, I moved this red couch down from the original third floor. I tiled the floor black and white, and I've created a small little reception area with this very dubious looking guy as the, I guess, the hotel manager in this case. One thing I did do in terms of tiling was to add in a lot of those triangle tiles. Those pieces originally came from a 2017 or 2018 Speed Champion set, and I did buy a bunch of them because that's the only way to tile it with a right angle triangle, and that worked out pretty well. And that's also why I kept this to black and white, because I only have those tiles in black, white and light gray, so I went with black. So there's still enough space for minifigs to come up the stairs, come to the reception and wait on the sofa if needed. Over here there's a door that comes allows you to go up to that small balcony, and you can go up to the stairs to the next floor as well. And like the ground floor stairs, I added in some railings in a different color, again just to make it a bit more complete. I didn't finish these stairs, I just didn't want to use up all my 1x3 tiles, and this allows me to put minifigs on the stairs as well. The major change I did was to this area here, and if you're familiar with the original corner garage, you know that this was the vet's clinic. And the door to the clinic was actually on this diagonal over here. So this diagonal wall, and in fact this whole structure here came with the original set, but I've actually walled up this set and I moved the door over here. And that was really to facilitate the layout of the hotel room. And let's get into the hotel room itself. This is a single room, but it's actually quite big in relation to the hotel, and it's got some additional facilities like a fridge and a coffee maker, something that you don't always get in every hotel. So it's almost like a small studio apartment. So that's the main door, and you come in, that's the fridge. That's from the Ghostbusters HQ as well. In fact, all the furniture is from that set. A little cabinet or a chest of drawers with the coffee mug and the coffee cup, a nightstand, and this bed, which actually expanded to a double bed. So originally the bed was only 3 studs wide, I expanded it to 4 studs. And there's a TV on the wall right over here. And that leads us to this really small toilet, which I've created out of the space behind the diagonal wall. So I built in this wall and I've locked it to this plate under here. So it's really tight. It's not loose, it's not isolated, it's actually built in. And I've managed to squeeze in a toilet, as you can see, and there's a shower with the shower taps below, and there's some soap and shampoo. And I did think over some time how to create the layout for the hotel that makes sense and looks aesthetically pleasing, and this is what I came up with for this first floor. Before we look at the top floor of the hotel, let's have a look at the modifications I did to the roof. The main layout is about the same. Structurally, this is the same. This is the access from the stairs. I did add in a little pool with a step, and this meant I had to rearrange some of these builds here, such as the deck chair umbrella and this flower bed. So I just moved them about to create space and a logical layout as well. I also added in an air conditioning unit right here. Other than that, everything remains the same, and the roof can lift off to reveal the top floor of the hotel. Now the layout is a bit different than the second floor. Originally, I was thinking of whether I should put in two separate rooms, and I did come up with a design to do that, but I decided for aesthetics it would look nicer if I just kept it as one hotel room, but having it a double room and having a common area, because that's pretty common for some hotels as well. So there's a common area where people can just chill out. There's sofas, a bit of decoration, and it's got its own tiling as well. And these sofas came from the original corner garage, and they were the sofa sets for the waiting area for the vet's clinic. So I put them here on the third floor. I did add in this particular wall, and it's locked into position as well. Originally, this entire floor was open and it was an apartment. So I've just divided it up and I created this particular hotel room here. And this is pretty spacious as well. It's a double room because there are two single beds. That's the original size of the bed, smaller than the double bed that I created below. A chest of drawers that I created, as well as a television. There's a nightstand over here, and there is the toilet on this side. And I recreated this corner build, which also came with the original corner garage, but it was smaller, so I made it slightly bigger. I also put in a door with no window for privacy. And inside you can see that there is one toilet bowl, and there's also a shower with taps and soap and shampoo as well. So when I first thought about a design, so if you're thinking about creating a hotel or you want to create two rooms out of this floor, this is how you can possibly go about doing it. So the access from the stairs is over here. You would create one room exactly like this. So the door to that room will be here, and you would probably stop somewhere here and create a partition this way. So 5 studs down, you would create a partition here. So it looked like that. And you have one door this side to access this room. And this particular room now would be this triangle and all the way here. And this back part here would be 2 toilets. So one toilet would have an access from here for this hotel room and one from here. And the bed for this room would be somewhere here. So that's how you'd basically divide the rooms if you wanted 2 rooms. Now it was possible because I did try that basic layout, but aesthetically when you're just looking at it, to me it looked a bit too cluttered. While functional, I did want something that I could see easily, and I also had a plan in future if I should decide and I get another corner garage set, I would then add 2 floors to the hotel. So currently the hotel has only 2 rooms. Well, that's why it's so pricey for such a dingy hotel. But even the original cafe corner, that didn't even have any space for, I think, more than 2 rooms as well, and that was practically unfurnished. So my thoughts is I'll create just 2 rooms, but in future I may buy another corner garage and create 2 more floors, and then our 4 rooms altogether. I hope you enjoyed this modification of the Lego Corner Garage to create the Lego Corner Chop Shop and the Blue Brick Hotel. Let me know what you think of the changes in the comments, and if you have any feedback or suggestions for improvements. And if you have done any modifications to the corner garage, share the link to your video or your photos in the comments as well. I really like to hear from you. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't, please subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.